Week 12 of the Sunday spread is here. Devin, I'm going to go straight to you. Devan Kaney here, Barrett Brooks, Sean Bell, presented by BetMGM on the BetQL network. Our producer, Kenny, was hounding you about a certain pick you made last week. Hounding you. How can you go against Pat Mahomes?
Yeah.
This is like Tom Brady. I'm sorry.
You always find a way to win.
I'm sorry, Kenny. I'm throwing you right under the bus as soon as this thing starts. Yeah. You were the one bold one being bold about it. Like, we were kind of like, I don't know. I think I'm going with the Chiefs. You said Bills, Mafia, all the way.
Yeah.
So we start with where we were right, where we were wrong, obviously. Go ahead and gloat.
I think it was you and Kenny, Sean, who said you can never bet against the Chiefs. You never, ever
I did not say that.
Against Patrick Mahomes the Chiefs.
I picked the Chiefs, but like I said, I was wishy-washy about it. It wasn't confident. Why? What are you doing? Look, Devin always, you see this, Barrett? Anytime she could stick it to me, she forgot about Kenny. Anytime she could stick it to me, she's going to stick it.
It all went right back to you.
Huh? But both of you guys. But yeah, I had the Bills winning and covering the 2.5 points, which they did well over covered that. And
she said well over, not just cover, but well over.
They did. It was a very convincing win.
It was a shellacking too. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And I had the Steelers money line, mind you. No, I don't think Barrett might have been on my side with the Steelers.
I was on your side.
I picked the Steelers.
I was on your side.
To cover or win outright?
To win.
Yeah. We need to pull the tape here. I don't know. But I feel a lot of people.
At least on Sunday, I bet it the Steelers to win.
Okay. I had the Steelers winning outright. They were underdogs to begin with, but they won. They beat the Ravens. I had a feeling it was a good game. It was a good week for me. Week what was it? Week 11 was good for me.
It was good for you. Barrett, was it good for you?
No. No, it wasn't. Because I come on now. How are the Bears just losing by 1 point? Yeah, Kenny, I bet against them.
I feel bad for the Bears.
Yeah, but they lost by 1 point, and they were beating them the whole time. But I thought the Packers was just going to roll over them, so I went with the points and everything. I'm like, yeah, we got this, and then I turn around and another bad pick. I just knew the Bengals were going to ball all over the Chargers. But what do? They go out with the Philadelphia game plan. They run the ball, keep the ball away from them, the Bengals, and end up winning 34-27, points and everything. I'm like, come on, man. And then I got to get on you, Sean.
Oh, goodness.
You talked me into going with your team and talking about, yeah, they're back. They're healthy now.
Well,
they're back.
They're not healthy, but.
Well, you said they were healthy. You told me. You influenced me. You said, oh, they're healthy. We got CMC back. And what happens? They lost. Not only did they lose bad.
They
lost bad with the points. Yes, they did.
They lost 20-17.
That's bad, bro. Come on.
How is that? Okay.
Come on, man.
All right. I guess our definitions are changing. They lost, but they didn't lose bad.
They lost.
Obviously, they were favored.
I'm talking about
by
the eye
six.
test. I'm talking about the eye test watching the game. They did not look like they were organized. They didn't look like they were in the game.
Are we going to get into this? We'll get into the 49ers.
All right. Yeah, but
let's talk about our bets.
But my good bets. I knew the Texans were going to rout the Cowboys. That was easy money. Easy money. I knew the Rams were going to win. Easy money. You know what I mean? That was easy money. Where else did I? Let me look at my ticket. All right, let me look at this.
I had a few parlays.
And then the Lions. The Lions. Woo!
Well,
and everybody.
Woo!
Yeah.
I know I didn't win anything from it. But then I turn around. Then I went with Dev. With the Steelers. With me being a former Steeler, win the Super Bowl, I had to go with the Steelers against the Ravens. My hated Ravens. I hate the Ravens. I still hate the Ravens. I hate the Ravens, and that was a good bet for me. A really good bet for me. And then I went with the Bills Mafia beating the Chiefs.
I'll tell you where I went wrong with that Bills-Chiefs game. So I had the Bills winning and covering. But in my anytime touchdown parlay, I had Dalton Kincaid, if he played, having a big game. He didn't play. So I subbed Dawson Knox in. Their names are so similar. It's so confusing. And he didn't do much. So lost that parlay. But luckily I didn't have the spread. And and props like tied in one. So I still hit.
Here's my annoyance.
You're not your game, but your annoyance.
You know I always get screwed somehow on something stupid.
And it's always by less than 5, too.
And this time it wasn't. But it was just the concept I'm annoyed about.
Okay.
I had a 6-leg parlay. 5 of those legs hit. And one of those legs was Jahmyr Gibbs having 75-plus yards. I knew he would get rushing yards.
Okay.
I knew he would get anytime tutty.
Yeah. He's kind of taking
David
over now.
Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs both had a touchdown. So
well, when Montgomery scored, because I think he scored first. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, exactly. But they're playing the Jaguars.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be a blowout game. So I say to myself, both David and Jahmyr are going to get off. There's going to be a lot of rushing yards in this.
Yep.
He had 69 rushing yards.
Nice.
Okay, it's only about 6 this time.
But what pissed me off was this. First of all, they yanked him in the 4th, so he couldn't continue to get those yards he was supposed to have. And also, I predicated having these rushing yards because Jared Goff ain't throwing for yards no more. That just ain't what he's doing. He had 2 games under 100. Last week he had 240. All of a sudden he throws for 412 yards.
Yeah.
You beat the Jaguars 52-6. Why are you passing the ball so much? You ever just watch one of those games you shouldn't be watching because it's a blowout and thinking to yourself, this is not how the game is going. Why is he all of a sudden throwing the ball in the game you should be running?
It should have been a run fest. Yeah, it should have been
a run fest.
I mean, maybe somebody talked about, maybe the other coach talked about, my boy's mom or something. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Again, he went for 85 yards, 145, 240, and now 412 against a terrible team where he didn't need to do all of that. So that screwed me up. What made me happy, and I thought this was just an emotional pick, but it turned out to be right. The Jets still stink. All right, I said the Colts was going to win. I did a little money line game. I said Jonathan Taylor's going to get anytime tutty. They're going to be fine.
By the way, Anthony Richardson, remember I said he wasn't part of my official anytime touchdown parlay, but I did throw him in at the end.
Mm-hmm.
He got it. He got in there.
You were kind of wavy on that. You said, you know what, I got to go with him because I know he's going to run.
I didn't feel confident enough
to
put him in my official touchdown parlay, but he did get in there. Sorry, continue.
Listen.
Well, you did screw me with the Dalton Kincaid because I didn't have enough time to go in, so it kind of.
Sorry. Blame Dawson Knox.
Yeah.
Blame Dawson Knox. So that one, well, obviously we'll talk later. My 49ers, I'm one game away from saying they're done. Get them out of here. They're cooked. One game away. So we'll talk about that 49ers.
Well, they do this every year, bro, and then they turn around and they start balling out the last 6 games.
But the problem is. Their injuries, like you were talking about, they were up by 2 scores up by a score in the 4th quarter. Bosa gets hurt, they immediately score 2 touchdowns. They score 6 points in 3 quarters.
Yeah.
He gets hurt and immediately scores 2 touchdowns. And I had a bet for George Kittle originally, and obviously it got nixed because he didn't play.
Right.
They're now 0-2 without Kittle.
Yeah,
not good.
Terrible.
He might be back this week though, right? I mean, we'll get into that game later,
but I think he's a game-time decision.
Yeah.
So that can go either way, and they can't do anything in the red zone without.
I need him back because he's gonna be in my tight end parlay, bro.
As always, and the Chargers, and this is a long-term thing for me. I said I booked Jim Harbaugh being Coach of the Year. Chargers now 7-3. They won 4 in a row, 34-27 over the Bengals. So that long-term future, and we'll talk about future later, looking great for me because he's been so good. And, again, Jim Harbaugh, you say vibeless, and you're correct.
It's not vibeless. It's great football.
But, damn it, that man knows how to win.
It's great football. It's run the rock, stay on the field with your offense, keep their offense off the field, play good defense. That's just what the Eagles doing. Detroit used to do it until this last game where they figured out they're just going to throw for 400 yards. But they got the same game plan also.
I think
that game plan wins in this area of football now.
I think Jim Harbaugh is going to end up being a top 5 coach this century.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Because number one, he's got the Harbaugh Bowl coming up here this weekend.
But just if you think about overall coaching jobs this century.
I didn't even think about that. Oh my gosh.
It's a Harbaugh Bowl.
Yeah.
Nick Saban, obviously. Bill Belichick, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then you got to think about dual guys. You think about Pete Carroll.
Yeah,
he won a Super Bowl and an NCAA champ and a championship in college.
Yep.
What are your other names? I mean, I think that's what Jim Harbaugh is chasing, the Jim Carroll thing. All right, I won one in college, Every program I've ever been to, I've been over 600%.
Yep.
Again, I think he's a hell of a coach. Obviously, Andy Reid.
Well, I mean, everybody's and then he leaves and they fall apart too. So it just goes to show us his coaching has got him where
unbelievable. But let's talk about falling apart. Okay. Let's talk about the teams I hate, the Jets.
Okay.
Another firing. It's everybody's fault but Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Joe Douglas gone. Despite
what was he doing? He had his hands in his pocket because at this point, A-Rod's making all the trades. A-Rod is keeping coaches and letting coaches go. I mean, come on. That's A-Rod. He's the GM. What you need another GM there for if you got a GM on the field?
So let me ask you this. As a player, and I don't think you've ever been in this situation, but have you been in a situation where one player had so much power where, again, I don't think you've ever been in, because I don't know if anybody's had done this much to an organization.
No.
Have you
in
ever
the NFL, NBA?
Oh, yeah. In the
NBA is different, yeah.
NBA, of course. Have you ever been in a situation where I don't really mess with that guy because I know he can get me fired like a blink of an eye?
Well, I had guys like that. I mean, I had guys that, for instance, I'm playing for the Giants. Mr. Strahan, we're walking on the field. I'm walking next to Strahan. And
you play for the Giants?
Yeah, 1 year. Yeah. I collected checks for many owners.
I see.
So look, we're walking down to practice. Now, we had been in two-a-days. We had real two-a-days. We had been in two-a-days for like a week and a half to almost 2 weeks. No, it was actually 2.5 weeks. Just banging each other, you know what I'm saying? 5 straight days each week. So, that's taking a toll on our body. So we're walking down. We're going through another two-a-day, and it's in the morning. And as we're walking down straight, I said, man, I ain't doing this. I'm not doing this. And Michael Barrow walks up as he's saying that. He said, what you talking about, Mike? I said, man, hey, let's call this up, man. We ain't practicing today. We ain't practicing tonight. We ain't even doing meetings. Let's go to a movie. The whole team going to the movie. As we're walking down, going into practice, I'm looking at him like this. This is my 8th, 9th year in the league. I'm looking at him like, huh? What? Yeah, dog. And I only wanted to be a hat day. Usually you say hat day, you have the hats on. But we were full pad. So, man, we're not doing this today. This is our day. We're getting a day right now. Hey, everybody. Call it up. Let's go. Call it up. Let's go. Call it up. Coach Foster walks up. What are you talking about, Mike? We got to practice today. No, Coach, we ain't practicing this morning. We ain't practicing tonight. And you're going to bring us to a movie. But Mike, Coach Foster, Jim, call it up. Calls it up. We walk right back into the locker room, shower, and we had a movie 3:00 that afternoon.
That's power.
So Strahan had that power, bro. But would he make those type of decisions? He wouldn't make any, like.
He used it correctly.
Yeah.
He saw my guys.
He was a superhero instead of a villain. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He used his power for good instead of bad.
He saw his guys were kind of tired.
Yeah.
They needed it, so he did it for the entire team.
Right.
All right. I mean, I respect that, although I don't respect Rodgers. Your take on these Jets?
I think it works if like abusing power, I guess, in a way as a player, if you can back it up and win and be great. I think Aaron Rodgers. I think his time has passed. I've been saying that since I know he got injured like within 4 seconds of last season, but while I think the anticipation of him being injured all last season kind of almost built, especially for Jets fans and those who wanted to see Aaron Rodgers and the Jets succeed, where it was like everyone assumed that he was going to come back and just be the MVP quarterback when Aaron Rodgers is old, and that's okay. People get old, but you also just have to be real with yourself, I think, and admit when it's just not your time anymore. Your body is just like not doing what you want it to do. In a way, I feel like he's almost trying to like be a Tom Brady, where Tom Brady, I guess, was our producer Kenny even said Tom Brady, like in Tampa, I guess, controlled things, but he didn't.
The man stopped eating strawberries.
I don't know if he had anyone fired, did he?
No.
Tom Brady? No. Yeah. So I just think if you're going to like come for people's jobs now the count is at 2, at least 2 for Aaron Rodgers, you got to back it up and prove that you can win. And
he's old, but is he necessarily as old as what his years in the league dictate to him? Because I guess he was in practice. No, he wore a red jersey in practice.
It also could just be
like
3 years.
Old. Yeah, it was. That's another thing. But it was 3 years. He didn't play. He had Brett Favre was 3 or 4 years played in front of him. He didn't touch the field. So that kind of, made me look at it like, all right. And then he has he was so good. I mean, so good in Green Bay. I mean, him and Devontae Adams, I mean, that was just an unstoppable force. And for me to see that, and I was a huge fan of how they ran their offense, how they were able to do the things they did. You know what I'm saying? They even beat my Steelers in the Super Bowl. So I'm looking at him like, man, this dude is the GOAT already. And I thought he's going to kind of bring a similar type of era to this Jets team. But it's still the Jets. Who am I to mess with their destiny?
I know.
That's
their ownership stinks. Hey, hot take. Aaron Rodgers is the most overrated quarterback in NFL history.
Bro, he went overrated in Green Bay.
Hey, I don't – just think about – you used the term GOAT. And everybody was like, greatest quarterback I've ever seen. Now when you look back in his career, did he really have a better career than Brett Favre? Was he better than Brett Favre?
No.
Right? You went to one Super Bowl. Right. You've been a choke artist in your playoff history. You have an under 500 record in the playoffs, by the way. Right? Like, Brett Favre ended his career dramatically when it came to games and interceptions and bad
emails.
Spots. But in emails. But at least he would play good for 4 quarters and then make a bad play. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers had playoff games where he was just terrible the entire game. Right? So we put all this GOAT stuff, but if I look at the top 10 quarterbacks in history, Aaron Rodgers can't be ahead of a lot of guys if we're being honest. Like,
bro, some of the stuff I saw him do, and I guess it's because I break down so much film that when I see all the stuff that he did with Adams, and his tight ends that he had, it was amazing how he was able to throw guys open.
Overrated. Overrated. All right, when we come back, we'll talk a little more NFL news and upset alerts. All right, who's going to get an upset this week? We do this every week because most of the weeks we get a lot of upsets, at least when it comes to the numbers, all right? So we're going to get to that and much more coming up on the Sunday Spread. And welcome back to week 12 of the Sunday Spread presented by BetMGM on the BetQL Network. Barrett Brooks, Devan Kaney, Sean Bell, upset alerts. Had a bunch of them last week. All right, again, we'll get into my 49ers losing to the Seahawks. That was an unfortunate
that was a huge upset.
Unfortunate game and a huge upset because I think they were favored by 6.5. The Colts beating the Jets, that was another one. The Steelers beating the Ravens, even though the Steelers were at home, they were underdogs in that game. So let's get to the underdogs this week. Who we think are going to win. Dev, I'll start with you. Give me your biggest one.
This one is for our producer, Kenny, but also actually not solely because I feel sorry for Bears fans and the Bears, but I truly think that the Bears can upset the Vikings this week. Their offense was looking a lot better last week. They played a much better game on both sides of the ball. Unfortunately, it came down to the wire and their field goal got blocked, which, by the way, I need to look up stats. I feel like this season, missed and blocked field goals and extra points have been insane.
Oh,
like
crazy.
It's crazy. Like, I don't understand what's happening. If kickers all are like in some kind of high mind and they all have the yips, I don't know. So that was really unfortunate for the Bears. But, I mean, you look back at some of their losses, and yes, some of them were bad. I know that they got a new offensive coordinator. The game against the Commanders, really good offense. That was pretty much bad luck on the Bears' end. Last week, I know that some of it is coaching, blocking a field goal, but a lot of it is still bad luck. Caleb Williams was looking better. DeAndre Swift has been looking better for the last 5 games. I think that they and the Vikings have been on the road for this will be their 3rd straight game. They're tired. Sam Darnold's being kind of brought back down to earth. He's looking like the Sam Darnold that we know and love from seasons past. I just don't think the Vikings are as great as their record shows. I like the Bears.
That's all a correlation right there. That was a correlation between Darisaw coming out and not playing and him being hurt. Once he did that, I think everything, it affected even the defense because that means they had to play more because they can't run the offense they want to run because Christian Darisaw is just that good. You know what I'm saying? Him being that, blindside tackle, it makes quarterbacks a little iffy, how they approach things. So
yeah, but you look at the Bears they can't score.
Yeah.
In the last 4 games, they scored 19 points, 3 points, 9 points, 15 points.
And our producer gave us a little nugget. Was it yesterday Their running back, your boy Swift just went up on a injured list and did not practice yesterday.
Oh, really? Come on.
We waited until after you made your pick to tell me that.
Well, the Vikings they're tough to run on anyways. I think it'll be like a Rome Odunze and DJ Moore game.
Right. Yes.
Their offensive line is so bad. That's all I hear from Bears.
And they're going to
That's
blitz.
all I hear.
Let's hear your underdog picks then.
Marshall
You're going to
Harris.
come out at mine. Why are you bringing Marshall Harris into this?
That's my guy. I mean, he's in Chicago. He's covering the team.
Big Bears fan now.
Shout out to Mars. He listens to the show from time to time.
My favorite is because 670 The Score is like a sister station here, and sometimes like their clips will pop up, and it's like the Chicago accent, like how it's just funny to hear sports talk radio in other cities. Like we're not all just sickos here in Philadelphia, and it's like just like a Chicago dad, like we need to fire Matt Eberflus yesterday. That's a really bad Chicago accent. I'm really sorry, Chicagoans, but
you know what? It's kind of crazy you say that because me coming from St. Louis, here, there, everywhere, I had to get rid of all that when I got here to Philadelphia because it's just a different way. I mean, to me, when I first got here, everybody sounded like they weren't even human. Like, what? And then the park in the middle of the street, I'm like, what is going on?
The South Philly accent is terrible. I know we're here in Philly. It is awful.
We got that too. How you say it? I can't even say it right.
Water. The South Philly accent is terrible. You got that. You got the Boston accent.
Boston
accent's bad.
We got to rate though. We need
Can
to do
we
that.
be for real and just say that all American accents are pretty terrible? Like we're not like the English accent. That's.
Oh, well, they talk funny over there.
I like.
Yeah, but it sounds good.
I like how people from Louisiana sound. Baby.
Yeah, hey, baby.
Baby.
Just make me I love that too. I love that too. Yeah.
I like little Louisiana taste. Anyway, what are we talking about?
Who are your underdogs?
Upsets. Barrett, I'll go to you first.
You know what? I'm gonna throw you a bone, bro. I think the 49ers are gonna beat up on the Packers.
That's the one I was gonna pick.
I'm going with that. I'm going with them beating up on the Packers.
I don't know about beating up.
I think they'll beat up. Another one in the Harbaugh Bowl. Big brother beats up on little brother. He gets revenge from the Super Bowl when they turned the lights out on him. And I really think the Chargers are going to beat the Ravens. So those are my two big ones right there. See, I'm kind of in the mix of trying to say, all right, the Raiders, division game, the Broncos coming off that great win. I'm this close to saying I'm gonna go with the Raiders on this.
I gotta apologize to Broncos. They're balling,
right?
I gotta apologize. Like everything in my heart told me to hate on everything Sean Payton.
Right.
He's done a good job. Right. Again, Russell Wilson. I don't know what happened between those two because Russ is playing well.
It was way before Russ though,
and he's coaching well. So it's
way
like
before
why?
Russ.
But why when they got together, like it couldn't exist? But
because Russ had his own office, he had his own coach. He brought in a coach and said, "I need an office to myself."
Yeah,
you can't do that, man.
Yeah, but he's not doing that in Pittsburgh
because they're not having that in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Tomlin wouldn't have that, but I also wouldn't think that Sean Payton would have that.
Well, that's why it didn't work. That's why I shipped him out.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but again, the Broncos look good. Bo Nix. I mean, he was
like a quarterback,
lifetime quarterback. It was like Bo Nix is one of those guys. Like, how long has he been in college? Like, he's in how many teams?
Didn't he start off with Ole Miss?
He started off with like 4 different teams. Okay, and so that's why I hated on the Broncos. But they're a solid football team that can make the playoffs. So let me apologize to them. I finally had to give it up. I was waiting week after week for their downfall, and they haven't had that. I'm picking the 49ers based off of pure desperation. They're in playoff mode.
Yeah.
Right, like the 49ers have been a bad team. Quite frankly, they've been a team that injuries have absolutely killed their team. They've had 8 different Pro Bowlers miss multiple games. Right? Like, how many teams can survive that? Nick Bosa went out last week. George Kittle didn't play. Devin pointed out 0-2 when George Kittle doesn't play. Noah Ufanga still out. Dre Greenlaw out. Javon Hargrave out. Brandon Ayuk out. Everybody's been out for that team. And the problem is that destroys rhythm.
Right.
Like you said before, hey, what's wrong with them? They don't have the rhythm. Because so many people are in and out of the lineup, they don't have the rhythm they usually have. They are, and this was before last week. So
I thought they were going to be good because they got their kicker back.
That's true. But before last week, and here's the biggest problem for them. Before last week, going into the week, they were number 1 in total offense yards.
Yeah.
They were dead last in goal to go. Right? So in between the 20s, fire. In the red zone, they're bottom 5 in the league. So that's why they're 0-2 with no George Kittle, because that's the best end zone threat. For some reason, when they get into that range, they don't know how to finish games. And they've lost 3 games in division when they were up with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
How do we
feel
They're
about not finishing? How
do we feel about Brock Purdy's injury, though? Do you think that's going to hold them back, or
no? I mean, I think he's fine. I think he's on the injury report, but all reports say that he's going.
But he'll be playing
he's going
like
to
normal.
play, and he'll play like normal. But again, that team just hasn't been. So this conventional wisdom to me doesn't say that they win this game if Nick Bosa is also out and George Kittle is.
Bosa's a machine, man.
Yeah, if George Kittle is potentially not playing or limited, but it's desperation for them. To me, if they lose this game, and again, I'm a 49er fan, they're done for the season to me. If they lose this game, it's over.
I don't think so either.
Well, especially given how bad the Packers' run defense is versus Christian McCaffrey. Like,
right.
I think that in itself will give the 49ers the edge. I also don't think, I mean, we've talked about this. The Packers are a good team. They're not a great team. Like, they're not, even at the end of last year, I know that they had a horrible start last season and then, finished strong, crushed the Cowboys in the postseason. But I just don't think that they are as good as a lot of people assume that they are. I think Jordan Love is a good quarterback. He's not great. I think he needs better options to pass the ball to. Like, Josh Jacobs is good, but I just don't think that's enough given how porous their defense is on the ground. So I think 49ers still have the better all-around team. So I mean, as much as I hate to say that, I think that they'll beat the Packers.
But the 49ers just shoot themselves in the foot. It's just they're 5-5. If they win the games that they're up by double digits on, they're 9-1. That's how much they've pissed away games this year due to whether it's an in-game injury, penalties, etc. So they've been bad. The Eagles-Rams game is an interesting game to watch, right? One thing is the Eagles have played phenomenal football so far, but the Rams have won 4 out of their last 5. And I'm very interested to see Matt Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp go against them young boys and Kenyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. I think that's going to be one of the very exciting games. I know conventional wisdom says the Eagles blow them out because I think they're a better overall team, but I think it's going to be one of those games that go down to the stretch.
Well, go
down to the end of that game where Matt Stafford knows how to play against them. He knows, in general, old veteran who's getting it, and Sean McVay is going to outcoach anybody on that side just because I believe in Sean McVay that much. So I wouldn't bet on this game because I think the Eagles are a better team and should win, but I do think this is an interesting game to look at and that the Rams will have a solid chance.
There's so many factors when you look at this game. They're going to try to do the same thing they did last year. Last year, they ran the ball consistently.
Kyron Williams has been a beast.
Controlled the clock, but it's different this year because, yes, you do have Puka Nacua back. You have Cooper Kupp back. And then when you look at Cooper Kupp, slot, playing against our rookie, I think that Cooper versus Cooper is a legitimate matchup. Cooper versus Cooper is going to be the matchup of the day. You know what I mean? So at this point, I'm looking at, all right, what other factors are in it? Now, you're saying the run game of the Rams. The Rams are in the bottom half of run right now. They're going to make them one-dimensional. They're going to make Matthew Stafford throw the ball. Now, he is by far the best quarterback to date that they have played this year. He can fit a lot of balls through small windows, which is different from what these guys have been used to. You know what I'm saying? They cover so well that those small gaps that he's going to have to throw to, he can make those kind of throws. So that's the interesting, thing about how Matthew Stafford is. He's an old wily veteran who knows how to play the game and can get the ball to whoever. So yeah, this will be a game. This will be a game in which I'm very interested. This is going to be. I'm bringing my popcorn this time to work.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a blowout by the Eagles. I think the Eagles will win because they're the better team, and the Eagles defense has just been playing incredibly well. It's nice when you have a a lockdown corner. I mean, secondary as a whole, but especially the rookie Quinyon Mitchell. I mean, he is not letting some of the best receivers in the league do anything.
Right.
The thing is, when it comes to the Rams, their two strongest weapons are Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. So it's like there's only so much Quinyon Mitchell to go around.
And the problem is, it's going to be interesting because Matthew Stafford doesn't care about your lockdown coverage.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
That man's going to get his targets regardless. Like, Quinyon Mitchell's been able to keep it close, so quarterbacks have went away. Matthew Stafford sticks to one wide receiver, and he's going to throw that thing. You ask Calvin Johnson, it doesn't matter. And so that's going to be the interesting matchup. Tight coverage.
Doesn't matter.
Tight throws, tight catches, tight deflections. It's going to be one of those games where, all right, you're going to be tested. I don't care. Matthew Stafford, I don't care if you Sauce Gardner. I don't care if you – and let me say this. I got to get on Jaws for a minute. Ron Jaworski, great former Eagle. He compared Quinyon Mitchell to Deion Sanders.
Nah.
Why do we have to immediately go – like, we want to compare people to – oh, he looks like Michael Jordan. Why do we have – there's so many Hall of Famers and great players in the middle.
Yeah.
Why do we go straight to that guy?
Yeah.
As soon as you compare a player to that guy, then that player gets killed. Then we're like, he ain't Deion. Like, he's not Deion. But why can't we name Champ Bailey? Why can't we name like?
I don't win more so as Revis Island.
You know what I mean?
More so than I'd say.
Why? It just
Deion was a different type.
There's
of
just so many great cornerbacks in the middle. Rondé Barber, whoever you want to name. Let's name another lower level Hall of Famer. We ain't got to go to the GOAT. So Jaws. Let's just.
Let's slow down a little bit.
Let him have a season and a half before we go.
I'm not going to compare him to anyone. What I see Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean as is, for the first time in a very, very, very long time, the Eagles have two rookie secondary players, cornerbacks, who can get a lot done in a short amount of time. Like, this is their first full season playing the NFL. Like, that's crazy. And especially Quinyon Mitchell, he's locking down guys who've been playing in the league for years and years. And he's going to be an Eagle for a long time to come. And he's not, like, they're not paying him $500 billion, right? Because he's a rookie. So
he shut down Jamar Chase.
Right. To me, like, that, the future is bright, but I'm not going to say, like, he's the next,
I don't want Revis. I wouldn't have went Deion up here.
I think he should be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year, absolutely.
Oh,
but unfortunately, defensive players a lot of times don't get a lot of love. But, yeah, I mean, it's that gives me comfort. I think a lot of this game, the Eagles-Rams game, will come down to something that has been plaguing the Eagles, or I don't want to say plaguing, been a topic of contention for the Eagles, and that's their pass game. The Rams defense, they're not that great against the pass, especially against wideouts, and we've got to see more action for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Like, we just have to, both because of the opponent and Jalen Hurts has to prove that he can get it done through the air rather than just relying on Saquon Barkley. Because at this point, if Saquon Barkley goes down, you're kind of SOL.
And I know Devontae Smith's a nice guy, but eventually.
He's killing my fantasy team, too. So that if he could, see some action, that'd be great.
Eventually, Devontae can be like, all right, dog. I'm getting upset here. Let's give a shout out to Vic Fangio real quick, because I know people all go, Quinyon shutting down all these individuals, and you're doing a great job. But the schemes are really, whether it's a safety over a top, someone under, it's amazing that Quinyon can play in the scheme and knows exactly where his help is and can play it so perfectly, because you learn those things later in life. But it's not just Quinyon. It's just Vic has done a magical job with that secondary overall.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about that. Let me, do I have a little bit of time?
We got to take a break. We'll come back.
Okay,
We'll come back and get more on that. Because we'll talk more on that. Again, we're going to talk about the Eagles and Nick Sirianni later, because there's a lot of people who don't believe in Nick Sirianni, who thinks he's trash, who thinks the Eagles can't do anything with Nick.
One of the most winningest coaches in NFL history? Right, I don't know. Right, crazy. Right. That's so weird.
And just because you don't call plays does not mean you're a bad coach.
Right?
What is this?
We'll get into it.
Yeah.
See, y'all going to make me go a direction I didn't want to go. Like, now I got to trash him. Now I got to trash him. Okay?
I'll defend him.
I know. I can hear it in your voices. So we'll come back. We'll continue to talk about that. We'll continue to talk about the Eagles, and we got to touch on our touchdown parlays. All right, we'll be right back. The Sunday Spread. Welcome back to the Sunday Spread. Devan Kaney, Barrett Brooks, Sean Bell. Touchdown time. Parlays. The queen over here keeps hitting. So we're going to keep going to you. Touchdowns, what you got this week?
All right. So let's start with Aaron Jones in that Bears-Vikings matchup. Bears run defense giving up a lot of yards to running backs. They're allowing the 8th most rushing yards to the position and the 6th most touchdowns to the position. So I like Aaron Jones getting in there, especially after a quiet game last week. Sam Laporta from the Lions, I like him getting in the end zone against the Colts. Colts give up a lot of yards and touchdowns to tight ends. A.J. Brown, we just talked about the Eagles last segment, how they really need to get that pass game going again, especially against the Rams, and in a game that I think is going to be a shootout. So I think A.J. Brown absolutely needs to. This was one of those ones where I didn't know if I wanted to go with Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown, but I just think A.J. Brown is the more reliable option. Yeah. And Jalen Hurts loves getting the ball to him. And Josh Jacobs, 49ers they have a good defense, but they're still allowing, they're in the top 10 for rushing touchdowns allowed to running backs. So I like Josh Jacobs getting in there for the Packers.
What's going on? Noise? I don't know what's going on with my computer.
Do I have a soundtrack? Ooh,
what is
like
going
relaxing
on, man?
meditation.
Elevator music coming on Barrett's computer right now.
I can't get it off either. Oh man, come on
just
now.
Hit the mute button.
I'm hitting the mute button, but it's not working. Oh, not working. I'm
sorry. Such an old man. That's what he is. He's an old man. Can't figure it out.
But hey,
I don't know if I should feel zen or like it's kind of ominous too.
It's yoga-ish.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's yoga-ish. What you got, Barrett? Since you threw yourself in there,
man. Come on, man. I gotta stop going. But what I learned this week, you can't go with these themes as far as all running backs, all tight ends. I tried to do that and it's not working. So I got to mix it up. So I am going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to start off by saying CeeDee Lamb, anytime touchdown.
Oh, wow.
He has the worst quarterback in the world. But I'm telling you right now, he's in his face right now, and he's smoking hot, looking at and saying, look, man, get the damn ball to me. Let's go, man. I need a touchdown. Let's go. So at this point, Cooper Rush is going to make sure he makes that man happy because he knew he can't go home if he doesn't. So I'm going to go with him. I'm also going to go Saquon Barkley, gets into the mix again. He's been giving me 2 the last 2 weeks. I got to go with him. I'm going to go Dallas Goedert in the red zone. And, and I really want to say it was either picking Dallas Goedert or Brown. And I'm going to go with Goddard this time.
You got a lot of faith in the Cowboys to get some scores against Washington, huh?
Yes. Their secondary sucks.
Okay.
Right now. Their secondary sucks.
Okay.
Then I'm going to go with an anytime touchdown with what is that kid's name from Green Bay?
Jacobs?
Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs with a touchdown because you guys can't stop the run like you used to, especially with Bosa not being in there.
I mean, listen, that's fair. No Dre Greenlaw, no Javon Hargrave,
yes.
No Bosa being in and out of the lineup.
And I have Josh Jacobs in my parlay. I don't have Christian McCaffrey, but I also feel like I'll probably throw him in here or there into a parlay.
I think I will also.
Yeah, the Packers' run defense isn't good. I just tried to I didn't want to do 2 from the same game.
Christian hasn't touched the end zone yet.
Yeah, he's due.
He's due. I got first of all, I got Brian Robinson.
Okay.
You gonna give the kid a chance again?
I mean, the Dallas Cowboys stink. They ain't stopping nobody. Like that Brian Robinson's going to be able to get in the end zone. He's going to be able to do some work.
They can't stop the run. You're right. Dallas can't stop the run.
I like Justin Jefferson against the Bears.
Yeah.
Just plain and simple. I know the Bears are looking for an upset, but I think the Minnesota Vikings, they're going to feed Justin Jefferson and feed him the rock. So I think he's going to end up looking pretty good in this game. I'm going to go with Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon has been
He's become reliable.
Yeah, so dominant. Yes, he has.
A bad Titans team. Anytime a good team faces a bad team, I'm liking the running back because I think they're going to feed the running back, especially in the second half, to potentially get one. I think y'all are right with Christian McCaffrey. I think Christian McCaffrey eventually is going to get one. I think this is the game, being that the Packers have struggled to be able to stop the run. I'm going to go I'm looking at that Chargers-Ravens game, and I kind of want to go J.K. Dobbins again. He's been somebody who's been pretty consistent, pretty reliable for me, but that's somebody I'm going back and forth on because, again, that's going to be a tough game. The Ravens defense isn't what it was last year.
Yeah, I kind of like Lad McConkey more, or like a receiving option more, because like I think I took J.K. Dobbins last week, but the Ravens secondary is just so bad. Like they're not stopping a lot.
You're right. But when you look at that game, Battle of the Brothers, I think each guy's gonna go back to their old reliable. Their old reliable is gonna make it happen. So King Henry, you got to get him for an anytime touchdown. He's got to get back into the scheme of things to work out, man. He's got to be back to what he was, and that's where that Ravens offense is run through Henry. He's got to make it happen. So I might go with Henry with an anytime touchdown also.
It is a J.K. Dobbins revenge game too. I just realized because
that's right.
He used to play in Baltimore.
Right.
It's going to be, and again, to Baltimore, they're traveling all the way to, I know, L.A. Chargers. I still want to call them San Diego. I know they don't have a real home field advantage, but still, it's a East Coast team traveling out west and playing out there, so that could do something for them. Anybody you would go for with 2 touchdowns? I'm going to be honest with you. I think Joe Mixon might be my 2-touchdown mix right now.
You think?
Again, the Texans have relied on him. He's been reliable. They're going especially if they get up in that game, they're going to run the ball. They're going to pound the rock a lot, and he's going to get multiple touches in the red zone.
The Titans' defense is so good, though.
They're 2-8, so good.
I know, their offense stinks, but their defense is pretty good.
Well, if you're going to say that, then you wouldn't look at Saquon. I mean, it really doesn't matter who you have as far as defense in the fourth quarter.
I will never pick Saquon to go for multiple touchdowns, even though he went for it last week, because you got the touchdown merchant.
Yeah.
Stealing touchdowns. Stealing touchdowns. And stealing, I know Philadelphia doesn't like to hear this. Stealing MVPs.
But hold on now.
Stealing the MVP award. Right? And I know this shouldn't be true, and people got mad because that was something that people have been saying online, and Philadelphians are upset. But for running back to win the MVP, they have to have gaudy stats. Right? Like, and it's unfair. You should be able to just look at the game and say Saquon's your MVP, and we're going to talk about futures later. Mm-hmm. But stealing the MVP because Saquon should have 19, 20 touchdowns. Right?
Well, we know that.
9 times he gotten them to the 1 yard, but you need stats, Barrett.
But stats.
You need the stats. That's how the voters vote.
If he keeps doing what he does in the games, eventually the eye test will just bring you all the way out of that and be like, look, we got to give it to this guy.
Voters don't work that way.
You can't just look at the stats, man. You got to see. He is always on an ESPN moment. All week long. He does something to be an ESPN moment.
And y'all might have not been this, but let me just be annoyed real quick. You know, they put his backward hurdle in Madden, the NFL game.
Yeah.
As they should.
As they should not.
Why? You're just jealous?
As they should not. Because, see, y'all not NFL. Y'all are not Madden players.
No, I'm not.
Now it's going to be all types of there's foolishness in the game already. Where you go, what are you doing? Like, that should not be able to happen. But now you're going to have anybody being able to do the backwards hurdle. So you have backup running backs getting touchdowns off a backwards hurdle that shouldn't be doing any of this.
What do you
I care. If you playing Madden, if
like
you playing online against someone, if you playing online against someone, you've never lost in a heartbreaking way.
Well, maybe you should master the backwards hurdle over someone in Madden.
XX, baby. XX. Backwards hurdle. Is it XX? I don't even know what it is, man, because I don't play Madden. I stopped playing Madden after they took me off Madden.
See, these non-players that talking about they don't. Okay.
Well,
clearly no one's gonna feel me at this table, but it's a ridiculous thing to put that in Madden.
Well, let me ask you guys this.
It's a once in a lifetime thing. No one's ever done it before, and now you're gonna have someone doing it every game multiple times. It makes no sense. You're gonna ruin the game.
Let me give you an anytime touchdown combo on one team. James Conner and Marvin Harrison Jr. They're going against it's an okay.
Marvin Harrison hasn't had that type of season though.
But he had 1 2 weeks ago, and I think he's due again this week. So anytime touchdown, then James Conner, he's going to give you one. They're going to try to pound the rock against the Seattle team because Seattle's going to try to do the same thing.
And salute to Geno Smith. He's been balling. Who knew he was going to get an anytime touchdown in the fashion that he got an anytime touchdown last week? So he's balled down.
To end the game, right?
Any other, maybe not ones that you would throw out there, but ones that you would, maybe go there.
See, from that, I hate that Cardinals Seahawks game just because, like, I don't know who the spread reflects how close it's going to be. Like, I really don't know in terms of side.
That division is just so.
It's crazy. It's crazy close. Like, I'm sure it'll be a great game, but yeah, it's in terms of picking a winner, it's hard. I like on the other side, on the Seahawks side, Kenneth Walker potentially getting the end zone. He got in there last week. He had 54 yards on the ground, so not a ton. But Arizona's defense isn't great against running backs. Seattle's defense is good against them.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah.
So that makes me nervous because, like, James Conner has been I feel like he and Joe Mixon, every time I take them, they come through for my anytime touchdown parlays. But I'm hesitant to put James Conner in there because Seattle, for the most part, their run defense is good against running backs. But last week they did give up over 130 yards and a touchdown on the ground. So I don't know. I just don't feel confident in that.
Would you guys, I think we're skipping out on the Lions. They've scored so many points, 42, 56. It's just what 52. It's what they do. Shouldn't you have multiple Lions scoring touchdowns in this game? Would you go Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery getting an anytime touchdown in this game?
I would go Laporta before I go. I would go Laporta before I go there.
Laporta.
Why Laporta?
Colts are really bad against tight ends. Okay. And their defense has been doing a little better. I mean, they're still not elite by any means. But they've been doing a little better. We also need to, I know that we're running out of time. We need to talk about the Bucs. I know the Bucs-Giants game isn't super exciting, but I think Mike Evans might be back. Your favorite guy.
His hamstring.
Your favorite guy might be back.
If he's back, you know he's playing. And you know he's getting a touchdown.
Yeah.
Top 10, dead or alive. That's all I'm saying.
What would you do with Kelsey against this Panthers defense?
I mean, he's going to get over 75.
Easy.
He's been balling. I don't know about a touchdown, but he's going to get over 75. He's been consistent over the last 4 or 5 weeks of having good games when it comes to yardage. I don't know about touchdowns, but he's having good games when it comes to yardage, and you think they're going to bounce back and have a really dominant game against a bad team, especially after the way they played last week. So, you know they're going to play well. You know they should be clicking in all cylinders against a terrible team. All right, when we come back, it's alt time. It's alternatives. Who's going to get 75 plus? Who's going to get 100 plus? Who's going to get 300 in the passing game? That's where we're going to go to next on the Sunday Spread. Sunday Spread, once again, Barrett Brooks, Devan Kaney, Sean Bell. It's alt time. It's big money time. All right, who's going to get 100 plus? I had a alternative last week of 5 guys getting over 100 yards. And it was $5, you'll win $1,200. All of them failed. Oh. So I need y'all help this week, all right? I need y'all help for one of those big-time bets. Y'all thought I was going to say I was close, wasn't y'all? Nah, I wasn't close at all, okay? All of them failed. So we're going to bring in Kenny. So maybe Kenny, you're going to have something where I can parlay it, where it can be something big like that. $5, you win $1,000. What you got for me?
All right, let's start with a Lion. And you guys are talking a little bit about the Lions. I think they're very straightforward. They're going to pound it with Montgomery. Gibbs is going to get involved. Amon-Ra is going to get his. But another guy, too, that they're going to throw deep shots to is Jameson Williams. He's had a bunch of deep touchdowns this season, resulting in him cashing for anytime touchdowns as well as his yards. This week, 75-plus yards against the Colts is plus 260. Like I said, he's the deep ball guy. And Indy's slot corner, Kenny Moore, is probably their best player in their secondary. He's going to be on Amon-Ra St. Brown. So Barrett Brooks, do we like Jameson Williams this week?
I might have to fade Jameson Williams at this point because I think they're going to go back. They went through too much, and they're going to go back and say, hey, we got to, reevaluate this. We're going to run a little bit more. So this might not be the game where you have, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Of course, he's going to definitely get his. He'll have over 80, you know what I'm saying? And I'd probably bump it up to 90. But Jameson Williams, that's just tough for me. It was like you said, Kenny Moore is playing really, really good right now. In fact, he's the only guy that I think can handle going against Williams and St. Brown. So after that, it gets pretty murky. But Jameson Williams, I just think not from what they're going to do on the defensive side of the ball, but more so what the offense is going to do. and they're going to slow things down a little bit, try to run the ball consistently, get back to bases, get back to what gives them the best chance to win in the playoffs.
What you think, Dev?
I'm also going to fade that, not alt it. I like Jameson Williams. The Lions' issue is that they have so many options, and you don't know whose game it's going to be, especially against a Colts team that isn't great. I don't know if they're going to have to throw it really deep, and because of that, I just don't feel confident enough to take 75 or more for Jameson Williams. So I'm going to fade it. Sorry, Kenny.
I'll risk it, but I don't love it.
Yeah.
I
want to Jameson Williams is on one of my fantasy teams. Like, look, I want to like it, but I'm not putting money on it.
It's tough because Jared Goff had a game where he had 80-something yards, threw for 80-something yards.
Yeah.
A game where he threw for 150-something
yards.
He's had games in the past 4 or 5 weeks where they relied on a run and he didn't throw for a lot of yards. But Jameson Williams is either feasted or famine. It's been, all right, he's had a game of 121. He's also had a game of 9. Mm-hmm. He's had a game of 124. He's also had a game of -4. Mm-hmm. So it could be, I had a huge day because he only gets 3-4 catches.
Yeah.
So he has to get that 75 in those 3-4 catches, but he's a big play wide receiver. So I'm going to take it because, again, I'm looking at 2, 4, and 5 games this season. He's had over 75 yards, and he's be able to have that type of impact. So I'm going to take it in this game, but it's a hesitant take.
All right.
Kenny.
Yeah, I'm looking at any ways to play this Lions offense. I mean, Barrett said he likes Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, how can you not? The running backs to score touchdowns or go over their yards. I was trying to figure out a way to play on the Lions this weekend, and I just thought maybe Jameson Williams, maybe it's Laporta. I don't know if he's going to play. He was out last week, so
he was out,
we'll see if he's in the lineup. So let's go to the Hall of Famer, Mike Evans, 75-plus yards, permitting he plays. Is plus 180 over on BetMGM. Back in the lineup, like I said, should be. Bucks need a win, no Godwin. Baker should look for Evans a lot like he always does when he's in the lineup. So, Devin, what do we think about the Hall of Famer, according to Sean Bell?
Hall of Famer, Mike Evans.
That's a lock.
I like it. I'll take it. The Bucks, they haven't won without Mike Evans since he's been out. They need him back, and Baker Mayfield definitely loves to throw the ball, and as he should, he's good at it. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have scored the most passing touchdowns through 10 weeks of the season. He's going to be really excited to get Mike Evans back, so I think he's going to use him a lot. And look, Mike Evans, according to Sean Bell, is a Hall of Famer. He's going to get 70. He could get 75 in his sleep. Come on.
Right, and you know what? I'm gonna go with that. In fact, I might alter it a little bit. Simply because he's going against a Giants defense that are going to sell out on stopping the run. They're going to sell out on stopping the run. So because of that, I really think it's going to open it up for Mike Evans on the outside. And plus, the guy's 6'5", and even with the hamstring that he's finally getting off of it, he's just such a big target. You know what I mean? He just runs straight down the field. I mean, there's not even any imagination on what they're going to do to him. They're just going to send him off on 9 routes, and he's going to go get it. So, I mean, I just think it's good and easy money, him going over those smaller DBs of the Giants and having a great day.
I'm going to say no.
I'm going yes.
Surprise. He's had only one game this season where he's played where he's had over 75 yards. He's had again, I big him up a lot, but he hasn't had the yardage type of season. Now, if you want to say touchdown because he's a deep threat, not a deep threat, but a red zone threat, I would say, hey, he can get him an anytime touchdown against the Giants. But I don't think he's been the guy so far this season to get a lot of yards.
I know he's playing opposite of Godwin.
I know he's the only one.
Godwin's not playing. He's
played opposite of Godwin. He's played without Godwin also, and he still hasn't been able to get that type of. Still hasn't been able to have that type of impact. So
you're gonna hate yourself Monday morning.
Him coming, yeah, but what is he gonna be?
Huh?
Is he gonna be able? Is he running like he usually runs?
Yeah, he'll be all right. If he's coming back, he's gonna be all right.
I mean, you say that, but I don't know at what percentage he's running at. And again, he hasn't had that type of impact even when he was fully healthy.
Then you also got to think of this though. He's gonna get targeted. Oh, I got at least one weapon back now. Oh, I'm. He ain't even got to be open. I'm throwing it to him.
Okay.
I'm throwing it to him.
All right. I'm not convinced. What do you say, Kenny?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that him being back is just a huge impact on the team because either he's gonna open up things for other guys or he's just gonna dominate like he knows how to. And him and Baker have a really good connection. I would say top 5 QB to wide receiver connection that we have in the league right now with how Baker's been playing this year. So I expect them to at least 75 for plus 180. I think is a really good bet. Like you said, he's more of a touchdown red zone guy, but I think given the fact Godwin's out, I think that's the big thing because Godwin was getting a lot of those yards and getting more targets. And I think a lot of those are going to go to Evans on Sunday against the Giants in a game that they need a lot. Because if the Bucks, I don't know if you guys seen their schedule, if you guys want to have a Bucks conversation real quick, but if they run the table, they could take away the NFC South from the Falcons.
Falcons just
lost. I mean, they played the Raiders, the Saints. They played the Raiders, the Saints, the Panthers twice. So the Giants this week. So I mean, I think that the Bucks are at least gonna look somewhat back and be in this playoff race moving forward. So let's keep the wide receiver train going. Nico Collins back in the lineup last week had a 77-yard touchdown callback. 100+ yards for him is plus 210 going up against the Titans. Over this number in a majority of the games he's played, especially the games where he's played in a full game, played one half and had 78 yards in the game where he hurt his hamstring that went on IR and would have had over 100 if the touchdown didn't get called back last week. So Sean Bell, are we going with Nico Collins, 100+ yards, plus 210?
Yeah, he's a beast. I mean, he had the rust knocked off last week and go-to guy. There's no Stephon Diggs. Even if there is Stephon Diggs, he's still the number one target. So I think C.J. Stroud having that type of weapon back, him being in the lineup last week, getting 70-something yards, would have had, like you said, a lot more if there weren't some penalties called. I think Nico Collins just the number one guy. He's going to get fed the rock no matter what, and he's going to get over 100 yards because that's the type of game he has when he's fully healthy and the team's going. What do you think, Barrett?
And you look at, the Titans, yes, they do have a pretty good defense, but who's going to be on the field more? That Texans offense will be on the field more, and he's just going to have more opportunities to make impact plays also. Plus, he's just that talented. Mm-hmm. So, I would take that. That's good money because he's that dominant of a player, perfect size, speed, his understanding of his quarterback and what his quarterback wants him to do. All that means something right now, So 100 yards, I think he gets that easily. And plus the Titans, I think they're just packing it up.
You think?
Yeah, I think they're just packing it up.
I am going to fade it, actually. I think Nico Collins will help the Texans offense greatly. I mean, as we've seen since he came back, but I just think that the Titans' one strength, I'm not saying they're a good team, but their one strength is their defense. They're allowing the fewest receiving yards in the league right now. And yeah, you can attribute that to their opponents running the ball because they're winning and ahead and they don't necessarily need to throw it a ton. But I just think that 100 yards is a bit too high for me.
All right, sorry. I respect what you think.
You're judging me. I just saw Sean's face. He's judging me.
I just don't know I don't know if the Titans' defense is. And again, I know the stats. It's unfair because I haven't been able to watch. So the stats say they're a good defense. Just don't know if that's actually.
I
true
also
because I question. I haven't watched their game, so I question whether or not it's for real.
C.J. Stroud also hasn't looked as great as he doesn't look bad. Trust me, he's not like Will Levis out there, but he doesn't look as sure of himself as he did last season. I don't know. I don't know if it's a scheme thing, if maybe it's he's had a lot of receivers injured, but I just don't know if he can get the ball to Nico Collins for 100 yards against the Titans.
What you think, Kenny?
Well, he's done it a lot this year, and he's on my fantasy team, and when he's played, he's gotten this a lot. So
the agenda.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I just think it's a good bet at price because he does it a lot. He is a deep ball guy. He is a possession guy. Him and Stroud. I mentioned Baker and Mike Evans' connection. Him and Stroud and Nico Collins, their connection is really up there as well. And I'm just looking for, so far we've done Mike Evans, Nico Collins, some of the guys. I'm just looking at top tier receivers with a good matchup, a favorable matchup at least, who are who could potentially pass their yardage mark on BetMGM. So let's go to another one. A.J. Brown, 100-plus yards, plus 185. He's playing in a dome game against an average Rams secondary. He didn't get this mark last week, but just like Nico Collins, he does it a ton. Devin, what do we think about your guy, A.J. Brown?
I love it. I will absolutely alt this one. Like I said before in this game, I think what the Eagles need to do offensively is get the ball to their receivers, and A.J. Brown is Jalen Hurts' number one guy. So I think he absolutely can get over 100 receiving yards. Now, this is all up to if Jalen Hurts is looking sharp, which sometimes can look a little iffy, but I have faith that he can look good against this Rams defense.
But you got to look at the way he looked at Jalen Hurts after last week's game. He missed an open touchdown to both of them on the same play. Jalen has got to get it to Brown and Smitty, but more so Brown, because Brown will voice his opinion. Yeah, we love all this winning. We running the rock, but he wants the rock, bro. And he is very, very influenceable to Jalen Hurts. He wants Jalen Hurts to get the ball to him. Jalen will get the ball to him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can see him over 100 easily. Was it like the second game that he didn't get over 100 yards this year?
Yeah, he's hit over 100 in most of the games.
Yeah. So yeah, he's definitely gonna have 100. Just by the will of the look I saw him give Jalen in the game last week, it's gonna happen.
No,
sure.
I don't think that's true. He hasn't hit. He's hit 100 once in the last 5 games.
Once,
right? He had that against the Dallas Cowboys. Hit 109. Last week, what I'm seeing is 65 yards.
He
against Jacksonville, 36 yards. Against Cincy, 84. Against the New York Giants, 89. And then he started off with 2 100 yards games before that. So
you didn't see the look. I saw the look, bro.
Yeah, but since this team has become a running team, the targets he hasn't gotten the 9, 10, 11 targets that he usually gets. And on top of that is if a team takes away the one deep shot, right? Like A.J. Brown always gets one. He always gets that 140-yard deep shot. And so if the teams are focused on taking that away and he doesn't get that, he doesn't get over 100 yards. So I think I'm fading it because he just hasn't been that guy since they said this is Saquon's team. We're gonna run this. We're gonna run this ball. Jalen Hurts is gonna run and do more draw plays and do all those things.
But I'm saying this week, I don't think that they're gonna run it as much.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. He's gonna have over 45 in the first half because that's the way they want the offense. Throw the ball in the beginning of the game, which hadn't been so successful.
Mm-hmm.
Throw the ball early. Then they start running the rock in the second half, and then he'll get his bomb here and his bomb there once they establish that they're winning the game.
And you feel confident enough Jalen Hurts to be able to get it to him when he needs to.
Absolutely. Hey, we acting like Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback. He throws the nicest, the prettiest.
He has a very good deep ball.
In the NFL.
He does.
So yes, he will be able to do. They're gonna try to put 8 in the box. They do it every single first and second quarter. 8 in the box to stop the run. Then a war of attrition works. That big offensive line, 700 pounds on each side of the line, coming off hitting those linebackers, and next thing you know, putting those 3 techniques and 1 technique in the lap of the linebackers. Now they can't flow. Then that's when you have Saquon come and just get 100 yards. And after that, then they'll start entertaining going to AJ. And AJ's going to definitely take advantage of every opportunity over the top for him. He'll have 100 for sure.
Okay. I mean, yes, Jalen's a good quarterback, but if he doesn't get that deep shot, he misses. He can consistently miss when it comes to reading routes over the middle and hitting someone over the middle or hitting comeback routes. He's not automatic when it comes to that. He's still a good quarterback, but he's not automatic comes at. That's why Devontae Smith hasn't been getting off. That's why Dallas Goedert.
That's why I said 45 in the first because he's going to slant. You can't stop the slant on him.
Saying 45 doesn't help with 100 plus.
He throws a bomb for about 50, 60 yards in the second. Easy.
Okay.
Watch what I tell you. I tell you.
Kenny,
can we come back at? Can we write it down? In fact, take a picture.
I think Barrett knows his Eagles. He knows A.J. Brown's going to get those slants early, and then late in the game, the deep ball is coming. And I think the question is Hurts going to connect them? With them, I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes.
I'm glad everybody's on the Eagles right now.
You're so mad.
I am. I'm annoyed. The Sunday spread. We'll come back, and when we come back, futures. I mean, we're about that time. MVPs, Super Bowl champs. A lot has changed since the beginning of the season, so we'll talk about it. Welcome back to the Sunday spread. Devan Kaney, Sean Bell, Barrett Brooks. Futures time. A lot has changed. All right, I'm going to be honest.
A whole lot.
Some of my future bets from beginning of the season, let's just rip that up, throw that away. All right, let's pretend like that never freaking happened. So we're gonna bring Kenny back in. Kenny, what are we focused on?
All right, let's talk Super Bowl. Now that we're more than halfway through the season, we have 7 weeks in the regular season left. The Lions, guys, first time in franchise history, are now the favorites to win the Super Bowl after the Chiefs lost to the Bills last week. The Chiefs are second favorites at plus 450. Bills plus 650. Ravens plus 800. Eagles plus 850. And then a big drop-off, Steelers plus 1,800. Packers plus 2,000. Sean's Niners plus 2,000. So who would you guys like at price right now to win the Super Bowl? Would you pick the favorite Lions or maybe one of these AFC teams with Mahomes, Lamar, Allen? Who are you guys going with right now heading into Week 12?
Wait, are we doing to win or to play? Like the AFC and NFC?
You guys can talk about the matchup and who's going to win both sides and who would maybe win. I mean, we could talk about that. Right now, at those prices are all who's just going to win the game outright. So Lions plus 325 to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
I don't know. I'm going to let one of them go first. So I don't know.
I mean,
I genuinely don't know. Like it's a tough call.
Well, that leads me to say I don't think there's an elite football team.
Right.
Period. Right.
No.
There's no team you go.
And if there is, it changes. So obviously, my initial thought is to take the Lions, who have the best odds and are on a roll right now. But look at how we viewed the Saints at the start of the season. We thought that they were so scary.
Packers too.
Yeah, like these teams, it's so anything can change week by week.
There's no elite team. Even the Lions, you look at them and you go, all right, like I know they're winning games by a lot, but defensively, is that elite defense? Right. Like there's no team where you go, they have an elite defense and elite offense. I don't care what the stats say. The eye test says, right? Like you ain't got Pro Bowlers all over on both sides. Like last year, you had teams with Pro Bowlers on both sides where you're like, you got like 5 Pro Bowlers on defense, 5 Pro Bowlers on offense. I don't see that this year. So I legitimately think there can be 7 or 8 teams that can win this year based on getting hot and feeling good, right? Even a Rams team that you're playing this week, the Eagles, they've won 4 of their last 5 and have championship pedigree. So I just think there's a lot of teams that can win it. If I was to pick one team, and this is a little bit of a surprise, I would pick the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Because you start looking at them, you go, okay, that defense is a top 5 defense. Like, they got game records and game changers. TJ Watt is ridiculous. That offense, now that it's spread open, you go, okay, they can wear you out. Mm-hmm. Like, running game can wear you out. Pickens is, again, Mr. ISS, but he's a beast. Right, like they just have and they have Mike Tomlin. Like, there's nowhere on that team that I don't trust. I trust every aspect of that team. Special teams, defense, coaching, offense. I don't know how many teams I can say that about. So I really like the Steelers. I know they're a little bit of a surprise team.
You can't say the
but
Eagles.
I like them to go to the Super Bowl.
You can't say the Eagles. There's nothing wrong with it. You can't be allergic to it all the time, bro.
He's never gonna say that.
I question things about the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles are top 2.
What do you question?
We're gonna question the coach. We're gonna question the quarterback.
I am gonna question the coach and the quarterback. Again, we're gonna get into that.
There we go.
We're gonna get into that in a little bit. But again, this wasn't an Eagles knock. Y'all think everything is an Eagles knock? I said
would you? Yes.
Are top 2 in the NFC right now.
Right. Okay. All right.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, you trust Mike Tomlin more than you trust Nick Sirianni. And that's not a knock. Mike Tomlin's a future Hall of Famer.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Well, he has.
Right.
Yeah, he has a much longer resume.
Russell Wilson has played better than Jalen Hurts this season. It's not close.
Well, he's also played fewer games.
He just played better. Okay, last 5 games, he's played better. He's been better. Right? Like, we don't have to put all these defensively. The Pittsburgh Steelers. I know you have great cornerbacks, but the Pittsburgh Steelers has been a top 5 defense for every year. Right? And they have TJ Watt, who's better than anybody on the Eagles defense. So this isn't a knock on the Eagles, because I know y'all want to bring up the Eagles, but and this could be considered a knock on anybody, because I'm saying the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't question anything. I question a lot about the Chiefs. I question some things about the Bills, even though they got a big win last week. I question things about the Ravens. Mm-hmm. The Steelers, for me, are the feel like they're about to be the best overall team in football.
Yeah. No, I actually don't disagree with you. They were.
You see what I'm saying?
They were a team. He was the one who came at you. I'm not.
Yeah,
They're not even in the same division.
Both of y'all.
But you guys know. No, I've had the Steelers. They've been my underdogs. They keep getting. They're not favored in like any of their games. I think people keep counting them out, and Vegas is clearly not counting them as like true contenders. Now I think they're going to start, especially with that win over the Ravens. But the Steelers are a good team. Week 1 of this show? Who is my underdog pick? The Steelers. Because they have Mike Tomlin, even when Justin Fields was their quarterback, because their defense is always great with TJ Watt, and Mike Tomlin is a great coach who cannot be counted out. And now with Russell Wilson, and you mentioned them opening up that offense, like they are to be taken seriously. I could easily see them going to the AFC Championship game. I'm not willing to go as far to say Super Bowl champions yet. I need to see a little bit more.
I get it.
But they're a very good team. They are.
Again, let me say, as of today.
People
it's not
tend
like I'm saying
to forget about them too.
Well, okay,
and 18-1 are great odds. If we're just talking about betting, out of all those bets, 18-1 great odds to take.
And I get what you're saying, but on the eye test of all the film that I watch throughout I watch at least 20 hours of film a day. You know, all these teams. You know, not just the Eagles and who they're playing, but I also look at what's going on. You know, everywhere else. And when I look at it, the team has the most physical offensive lines. I rank a little higher than most. Physical defensive lines, I rank a little higher. And when I look at this, I look at the roster. That's why the Lions are going down with me, because defensively. But they stay status quo because their offensive line is a top off. They're either 1 or 2 between the Eagles and the Lions as far as best offensive lines in the league. And number 1, the teams that I rate higher are the guys that can go out there and run the rock. And one team that can run the rock are the Lions. One team that can run the rock are the Ravens. One team that run the rock are the Steelers. One team that run the rock are the Ravens. So I see teams like that. So when I look at this and I say, all right, who potentially can go out there and win a Super Bowl? I said the Lions can win a Super Bowl. The Ravens can win a Super Bowl. The Eagles could run a Super Bowl. So who would be the team that I would say will win the NFC? I would have to go Eagles because, number 1, better defense than the Lions. So that they go up. But then I look at the AFC. Which team right now is playing the best and most consistent football? I have to say the Bills. Quarterback adds into the equation. Their offensive line is just okay. The defenses are just okay. But the quarterback just moves it up. And once they went out there and got, what's his name from
Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper. Once they got Coop, it really turned it up as far as what they can do offensively. They got their number 1. So that's why I moved them up to the number 1 status as far as who can win the Super Bowl in the NFC. I think the Ravens, they become very human because people are stopping the run, and I don't think that they have an alternative without going out there and playing fanatic football with their quarterback. Him to run around like the way he runs around really puts me in a sense that, all right, do they really have an offense that could stay status quo? I don't think their receivers are good enough to keep them at that level. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they moved down, and right now the Bills. So if I was going to say a Super Bowl matchup right now, I would have to say Eagles-Bills.
You say Eagles-Bills with the Eagles winning.
I can't get to that just yet.
Well, we got to make a pick. This is a show.
All right, I'll go with the Eagles then. I'll go with the Eagles.
Okay.
Then. Yes.
Dev,
Eagles.
Back to you now.
What? Super Bowl winner?
Yes.
Oh, what would you have in the Super Bowl right now? Looking at that.
Bills.
And who else?
I'm not picking the NFC team.
You got to.
She doesn't want to jinx the Eagles.
Yeah,
Eagles. That's what it is. She wants to pick the Eagles. She doesn't want to jinx it.
I'm not going to do it.
I'm
on to you.
I said this in the beginning of the year, and why I picked the Eagles. I said if Saquon Barkley wins the rushing title, the Eagles win the Super Bowl. I said that day one.
And as long as he stays healthy, that's becoming a concern for me.
He's going to win the rushing title. He has to be healthy.
Yeah.
If he wins the rushing title, he will win the Super Bowl. Period. I've said that day one. I'm saying it week 12 or week 11?
But
week 12.
When's the last time the person who won the rushing title won the Super Bowl? Where's the correlation there?
The correlation is they have an identity. a tough physical football. Identities win championships.
I get it.
I won a Super Bowl because of the identity that my Steeler team had. You have a tough, rough identity, you're going to play. Last year, the Chiefs won it because they had a tough, rough defense. Their defense was one of the top defenses in the league. They willed themselves to win. They played hard-nosed football, period. And then the Chiefs had a running game then, too.
Mm-hmm. Isaiah Pacheco was running angry all last season.
All last season.
Very good.
All last season. So, okay. I mean, that's just – I watch film, and the eye test with me is what I go. I can't always go at the end of the game what his stat was, this stat. It's what he did to get those stats in place.
Okay, it's been a win.
Can I make my – so I'll go AFC. My AFC prediction for the championship game is going to be Steelers and Bills.
Okay.
And then I think the Bills will advance, but we'll see.
I got you. It's been a long.
That's good. I mean, that's a good bet because I don't think the Chiefs at this point have a slot running.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't think that they're gonna.
They don't.
Let's move on, Kenny. What's the next one we got? And what do you think?
Let's start.
Throw out your winner real quick.
Oh yeah, I mean, I it's not a good price, but I've been on this since the beginning of the season. I think this is the year that the Lions win the Super Bowl. And I would start looking at exact matchups because I think the AFC has a lot of teams. I think the Ravens are reminding me of last year's Eagles. You had an MVP quarterback through the first 10 games of the season, and then, potentially slide it off towards the end of the year and lose the division when it looks like they had that they were going to win that division. So I don't like the Ravens in the AFC, but outside of that, there's always Kansas City's going to be there. Buffalo, it might seem like it's their year. Pittsburgh, you guys talked about that when you have Russell Wilson, Mike Tomlin, and TJ Watt. I think that combination is championship worthy. So I would bet the Lions to win it versus any of those, or to play in it at least versus any of those AFC teams. So if I had to make my pick right now, I'd actually go Lions versus Steelers.
Okay.
Lions winning.
Again, both solid. But again, there's 4 or 5 more teams that you can look at and say they can bounce back. So what's the next future you want us to talk about?
All right, let's talk a little bit about MVP because we have a new favorite there as well. Josh Allen, plus 150. Lamar Jackson, now the second at plus 200. Jared Goff, plus 600. And now Patrick Mahomes, double digits at 14-1. Jalen Hurts, 14-1.
Isn't that incredible? Wow.
22-1.
Mahomes and Hurts with the same odds.
A guy I want to mention, and I'll make this take before you guys give your MVP. I think I would have this guy's MVP if Jalen Hurts didn't take all of his touchdowns. Saquon Barkley, 50-1. I know it's a quarterback award, but he's probably been the best football player in the world through 11, 12 games. And if he just had those touchdowns that all went to Jalen Hurts, his stats would look that much better. And I think in a result of that, his odds would be a lot shorter to win MVP. So I think he could still win it if none of these quarterbacks play as well. I don't know what you guys think, but I'm going to say Saquon Barkley is my MVP right now.
Man, but you know what? I mean, I would say that, but the way CMC played last year, how dominant he was, how much of a game changer he was, he got them to the Super Bowl. I can't do it because Saquon deserves to be in the MVP more than 50-1.
Mm-hmm.
He's done enough. He's played hard enough. By the eye test, you look at the eye test, that's where you see it. The eye test, Saquon is no question. It should be Saquon right here and Josh Allen right here, both on the same line. And then right here, you got to take Jackson. He's right there, fluffing on just a little bit right there. So, from the eye test of what we've seen this year, those three are clearly ahead of everybody else, miles ahead of everybody else. But I would have to take Saquon out the equation because Christian McCaffrey played at such a great he had such a great year last year that I don't see how we're even talking about a running back when he should have won it last year easily, hands down.
Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, and Kyler Murray being in front of Saquon Barkley is criminal.
Yeah,
right.
It is kind of
what are we talking about? Like, they've had okay seasons.
Yes.
Nothing great about their seasons. No, and again, no disrespect to who they are as quarterbacks. Yes, all franchise quarterbacks. But they haven't. They've been okay. You've been pretty good this season, but they've been carried by other factors. Defense, right?
Games when both Jalen Hurts
running games
and Jared Goff have thrown for under 150 yards.
What are we doing here? Like, Saquon Barkley is the MVP. He won't get the award, but he is the most valuable player. And I said him and Derrick Henry should get consideration also. I know Lamar Jackson is all that, but they are a team that's their running game is their identity, and they got the leading rusher in the league.
Yep. So
Derrick Henry should be in this top 6 or 7 conversation. So I'm with you. It's Saquon and Josh Allen, and to me, then it should be a far gap if we're talking about who the actual MVPs are. Right. And I know it's a betting show. We got to talk about who's actually going to win odds. So Saquon probably ain't going to win it. CMC didn't win last year. We don't want to get to running backs. And unfortunately, you have to have gaudy numbers if you want to win it as a running back. That's why those touchdowns make a difference in voter eyes. Even though
the TD Merchant.
Yes, the TD Merchant took away that MVP from Saquon Barkley. It's just true. It's true.
No, it's the tush push. I was thinking, maybe we should have him do the tush push.
We should. That's what I thought they were going to do. But, again, it's the TD Merchant took it away because if he has 20 touchdowns right now, you're not going to tell me they wouldn't put him odds-wise number 1.
Right.
But
did CMC ever have the number 1 odds last year?
He was in the top 3 at one point.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why it's like you got to have these touchdowns and got to have these gaudy numbers if you want to be considered. So Saquon he's not going to be in it because he doesn't have 25 touchdowns right now. He's not on his way to 30 touchdowns because he would be.
Well, Saquon did have the backwards triple ending.
He did. That Madden play.
I think get to you when we come back.
I think we should just make the MVP a non-quarterback award. That solves everything. There you go. That's my take.
That's what it
See you after the break.
Yes, when we come back, Deb will give her take. We'll talk about the NFC West, and we'll talk about Nick Sirianni because we've been talking about that. We've been teasing that. We talked about it during the breaks. So your take on Nick Sirianni, it's going to be very spicy because it's 2 versus 2. It's Devin Barrett versus Sean and Kenny. We'll see who wins the Sunday Spread. Welcome back to the final segment of the Sunday Spread, Week 12. Of course, presented by BetMGM on the BetQL Network. Dev, we were talking about the MVP. Want to give you more time. I know you gave a quick tidbit. What's your take?
So MVP, what does it stand for? Most valuable player. I think we really have to break that down. Value. Like, what are any of these guys, or most of the guys who have the best odds, really proving to be the most valuable player, not just to their team, but to the league in general? And I think if you look at how Saquon Barkley has changed the game for the Eagles and made them just a dominant force again within the league, like that's value. And that's more valuable, in my opinion, than what Patrick Mahomes, what Lamar Jackson, what Jalen Hurts is bringing to the table. So it is criminal that he doesn't even have remotely close to the same odds as them. But it's a quarterback award. I don't think it should be. Maybe we should just do like most valuable quarterback and then most valuable player. That way we can,
right. That would be
give it to those who have earned it. But I guess it has to be Josh Allen.
Yeah, it's usually MVP is the quarterback. Offensive Player of the Year is non-quarterback.
Yeah, but no one cares about Offensive Player of the Year. It's always the MVP is the big one, the big kahuna, and But if it's going to go to the quarterback, I think it has to be Josh Allen just because he's really improved this year and he's doing a lot of good things with the Bills. And
again, the Josh Allen's one I won't be mad at. Like,
I wouldn't be mad at that.
He over Saquon.
I'd be mad if Patrick Mahomes won again.
Exactly.
Like after this season. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah, but Josh Allen he is the engine. He's
I wouldn't even be mad if Lamar Jackson won again. I just think the Ravens are a little bit overrated as a team.
Yeah.
But again, Lamar is good.
Derrick Henry leads the league in rushing.
Yeah.
So
and it's similar situation to the Eagles where it's like, is Lamar the most valuable player on that team, or is it Derrick Henry? Is Jalen Hurts the most valuable player on the Eagles, or is it Saquon Barkley? I think most would agree it's Saquon and Derrick Henry.
Yeah. So let's get to the discussion of Nick Sirianni. I mean, since we're talking about Eagles players, Kenny, you got to jump in here too, because I think you started this off last week. Because every week you've had something.
Kenny's
to say
been a Sirianni hater from day one.
So Kenny, I want
see little comments in the chat.
Right.
Kenny, I want you to come back in here and give your Nick Sirianni take.
So, I mean, I just think, after their 10-1 start last year, Jalen Hurts was the MVP of the league. They lost 7 of 8 games, and then Sirianni got all the blame. And, everyone believed that Sirianni really missed having Gannon and Steichen. So they get him Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio, and now they're 8-2. But like all the times that like they have ugly wins or losses, it always comes back to Sirianni and him being a clown with like on the sideline and with the media and all that kind of stuff. But just
how dare
point
you,
being is I just believe there's a reason he never gets credited when they win, because they've got Hurts, they've got Barkley, they've got A.J. Brown, they've got Devontae Smith. The defense is full of studs. But when they lose, everyone points at them. There has to be a reason for that. I just think the Eagles team is way too talented. I think if you insert a better coach, yes, he's not a bad coach. He's definitely a rah-rah guy in the locker room, and he gets a lot of those guys going. A lot of those guys have his back, but he does need those good coordinators. And I think that if he was one of those elite play callers or, like a Kyle Shanahan type, Sean McVay type, I think the Eagles would just be better than they even are right now because he holds them back in a way. I mean, am I wrong? Is there a reason why people point their fingers every time they win ugly against a bad team or they just lose a game outright? Is there a reason for that? Or is it just people just looking for someone to point fingers at?
I think more so it's Philadelphia and our control over the mass media on our fishbowl, how we conduct ourselves here in Philadelphia. I think that, there's a bias that comes with, okay, then here we are, we got a coach that's uber aggressive all the time, not just some of the time, all the time. When they win, lose, or draw, he's just aggressive. And I got a bone to pick with a lot of people with this. All right, you're not a good coach. Well, not even a coach. You're not a good offensive coordinator coach on the offensive side of the ball if you don't call plays.
Well, I don't understand why a head coach has to call plays to be a good head coach.
Over the last 10 years,
doesn't call plays.
There's the best coach right now. The best coaches don't call plays. You did not see John
Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, I mean, they just don't do it. When I was in the NFL, played 12 years, I never had a coach call play, the head coach call play. A head coach is there to set the culture of the team. His word and his practices is filtered down from him to the coordinators to the position coaches to the team. And if you look at this Eagles team, they're built right. They play, and the biggest thing you can do as a head coach to have your guys play hard for you, and them guys play damn hard for their coach. Mm-hmm. You never see them out there lollygagging. They playing hard. They may mess up a little bit while they're doing it, but they're playing hard. So that doesn't identify how good of a coach is that he calls plays. They are going to play a Rams coach. They wanted to quit last year. He sent his defensive coordinator to Atlanta. He wanted to quit. They had to beg him to come back. But you want to think he's one of the up and coming coaches. Well, he is what you want in a coach because he calls plays. He can go back. He has this memory that he can tell you what happened on this play, on this date of this game, in this quarter, on this drive. So what?
He won a Super Bowl.
Well, he did win a Super Bowl. Yes. Yes. I mean, I can't hate on that, but that doesn't make him, a prime coach.
He's better than Nick Sirianni.
No, he's not.
No, he's not. Not even close.
All right, can I speak now?
Okay, go ahead.
Can I speak now? All right.
I thought you threw it past me, so I just tried to dunk.
Oh no, you dunked that well. But let me just follow up with some numbers. The Eagles have the best record in the NFC since 2021 when Nick Sirianni became head coach. 42-19. They're ahead of the Rams, 49ers, Cowboys, Packers, Vikings. Nick Sirianni has the most victories by a head coach in his first 3 years with a team ever, as well as the highest winning percentage by a head coach in Eagles history. It's the third straight season that Nick Sirianni has had a winning streak of 5 or more games. Do you know what other only two coaches, have accomplished that in that time frame? Andy Reid, the GOAT, the greatest coach of all time, and Sean McDermott, who everyone respects. Like, I could go on here. Like, and his support system, if you want to say that it's all the coordinators, well, that's changed literally almost every season that he's been here.
Yep.
And they've been consistently good aside from the end of last season. Remind you, they were still 10-1 last season, okay? Like, they still got there. And the collapse was bad. I'm not saying that wasn't bad, but Nick Sirianni deserves credit. These guys play hard for him. Saquon Barkley If you paid attention before that Thursday night football game against the Commanders, I don't usually pay attention to these one-on-one interviews. It caught my eye. He said his confidence was absolutely shot when he was in New York, and he's fully gotten it back being here in Philadelphia. And I think a ton of that is credit to how Nick Sirianni coaches these guys. The players genuinely love him.
Stop it.
Oh, what?
None of that goes to Nick Sirianni. You know what? You know why his confidence is back? Because he has a great offensive line, and now he has openings and can do his thing. It has nothing to do with what any coach. Give that to Stoutland if you want to give it to anybody. It has nothing to do with any coach. His confidence is back because he's with a good offensive line.
I thought we were arguing over Nick Sirianni, not Saquon's.
But I'm saying you're giving Nick Sirianni credit for things you shouldn't give him credit for. Listen,
it all stems from the culture a head coach creates.
I don't know.
All of it.
No, first of all, we need to have some balance here. He's not trash. He's not elite. He's a good coach. Like, I don't know why we always go with trash or elite, right? There's a lot of in-between stuff. Nick Sirianni is a good, solid head coach because and part of that is because he's with an elite organization. This organization is a top 3 organization, maybe top 1 organization. I guess you have to give it to the Kansas City Chiefs because what they're doing. They're a top 2 organization in the league. Great GMing, great ownership, great culture, great players, great everything. So that allows everybody to flourish. I'm not saying Nick Sirianni doesn't do some of that and isn't part of that because they won a Super Bowl a couple years before he got there because it's a great organization, great GMing, great ownership. He's a good, solid, not more than better than solid, but he's a good coach. So I give him credit for that, but he's not without flaws. He's not elite. I'm sorry. I don't care what the winning percentage is. He's not Andy Reid. He's not some of these guys who won multiple Super Bowls.
Belichick?
He's not Sean McVay.
Well, because he's been coaching for 3 years.
He's not Bill Belichick. He ain't. Well, maybe he gets to that, but he's not.
Exactly.
He's not that right now. He's a good.
What did Bill do to become a great coach?
Win Super Bowls.
And how did he do that? With the GOAT, the best player to play the quarterback position. Say what you want to say. I mean, the GOAT won that.
Yeah, but Bill was also a GOAT coordinator, winning Super Bowls and having elite defenses. His defense won Tom Brady Super Bowls.
He didn't call it defense.
Tom Brady was an average quarterback, but he had a great defense because Bill Belichick made that great. But this ain't about Bill Belichick. It's about Nick Sirianni. He's a good quarterback. I'm gonna tell you what Nick Sirianni is. This is what reminds me, because my problem with Nick Sirianni is I don't like his sense. His sense of awareness is off. So when everything is going well,
I'll give you that.
when everything's going well, the ship's going to be right. But when he needs to make a coaching decision off of sense, he doesn't have it. He reminds me of a friend I know. I'm not going to call his name out. When we go out and have fun, and maybe back in the day when we used to talk to women, he was the one guy who always say something awkward. You just made it awkward for everybody, dude. Why would you say that right now?
I know exactly who you're talking about.
You guys know the type of guys.
What are you talking about?
Why would you say that right now? Like, you just made it awkward. Now the women are leaving. Now we just look like weird dudes. Why?
Wait.
And he's a great guy.
Great guy.
Make a great boyfriend. Make a great husband. But everyone has this friend. But he just doesn't have the sense of when to say things, when not to say things, when to do things, when not to do things. And that's who Nick Sirianni is. Hey, maybe I should, I know you said, hey, he's brought his kids into press conference before. But the person who has the correct sense knows when to do it, when not to do it.
Right.
Hey, this 4th down.
Is that cool?
This 4th down, maybe this cool.
Wait. We're running out of time, and Kenny says he has 2 questions.
This 4th down. Analytics. Don't go with analytics. Go with analytics. Have the sense to do so. He's a good coach. He's not elite. Sorry. Go ahead, Kitty.
All right, just to put a wrap on this whole conversation, can we all agree that the Eagles have a good enough roster to win the Super Bowl this season?
That's the best. That's the best thing you said all year.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
Kenny's setting you up. He's saying if you don't win the Super Bowl, it's because of Nick Sirianni. That's what he's saying.
And that's why. Well, yeah. The second question is, if they don't win it, who are they going to point their finger to? Sirianni, because they have the best roster in football, maybe outside of the Lions.
I disagree with that.
Defensive front is not Super Bowl caliber, in my opinion.
I don't think they have the best.
You're right about that.
Carter,
best talent.
Jalen Carter's he's gonna be amazing. He's in his 2nd year.
He's getting double teamed and triple teamed to slide the line.
Pick at that though, Devin. I think that them and the Lions are in a crash course for an NFC title, and it's just going to be Dan Campbell, Nick Sirianni, who's going to have their team better to play. It's going to be a great football game, probably down in Detroit.
Just when they get into a sticky moment, can Nick Sirianni make the right call? We got to get to our bets. All right, we ain't got time, so we got to go through this real quick. Dev, I'll start with you. Go to your bets real quick. Give us a couple.
I
know we're all over the place, but I'm seeing this time tick.
Really quickly before we fully wrap up, the argument for me was not is Nick Sirianni an elite coach? It was, are the Eagles winning despite of him? And I don't think that's the case. Okay. My best bets to go over my anytime touchdowns again: Aaron Jones, Sam Laporta, AJ Brown, Josh Jacobs. I like Baker Mayfield over his rushing yards bet. MGM right now it's 13.5. That's crazy low, especially playing against a defense that's not great at stopping mobile quarterbacks. I also like CJ Stroud kind of turning the wheels on if he has to. In terms of sides, I like the Bears as my underdog of the week. Probably not a popular take, but I think that they can finally get it together this week. And I like the 49ers beating the Packers outright. 49ers money line.
All right, Barrett, what you got?
I'm going to, I'm going with the 49ers upset of the week. I'm taking the points and overall win, period. I'm also going to go with the Cardinals beating the Seahawks. Even though they are favored by 1, I think it's be better than that. And then I'm going with the Eagles going with the points, winning outright, even though they're favored by 3. And then, I think my pick of the week really is hold on, where's that? There it is. Steelers. I can't go with that. I can't go with that. I can't go with that. What I wasn't going, but I can't go with that. But I think that's it because I'm really, really, really. I'm not even messing with that Vikings-Bears game.
Yeah, I got you. All right, I'll go mine real quick. George Pickens over 75 yards, anytime touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs, anytime touchdowns. Brian Robinson for Washington, over 75 yards, anytime touchdown. Travis Kelce over 75, and Joe Mixon over 100 in an anytime touchdowns against the Tennessee Titans. 49ers, I'm a little scared. I'm not going to say what it is until I
over
find
100.
Yeah, I think he balls out. Texans, again, good defense, great with the pass defense. Run defense, you can get over 100 on them. And 49ers, I can't give you right now because I don't know about Bosa and George Kittle. So I would be on y'all bandwagon, but I need to find out about those guys. All right, it's been lively debates about head coaches and whatnot. So hope y'all have a fun Sunday. Hope y'all win some money. And we'll be back to either brag or be mad. All right, this has been the Sunday Spread.